Hello all, this is Judy speaking. I have a request if we can all turn off our microphones and disable your webcam unless you are Chair Barnes. Thank you.
Hey, this is Larry. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me. Hello?
Yeah, I hear you, Larry.
Yep.
Okay, great.
We can.
Thank you.
It's quite a beard you got going on there, Larry.
It's all this staying at home.
Hey, was that Michelle? Michelle, can you hear us?
Oh, yes, that's me.
Oh, hi there.
Oh, that's my dog.
We have liftoff. All right, party people, what's happening? 7:01.
Oh, you know, our kids are never going back to school. Andrew, it's 7:04. Are we waiting
I'm
for
sorry, say that
something?
again?
It's 7:04.
Yeah.
Are we waiting for something?
We are waiting for our technical folks to get us queued up.
Okay.
And Judy, am I looking to you for the go-ahead and the coordination throughout this meeting?
Hey, Chair Barnes, this is Judy. At this time, the planning staff will be facilitating and clerking this meeting. I'm just here for any technical backup that needs to happen. I just sent a message out to see who is actually clerking the meeting from planning staff, and we'll get an update to you guys very shortly.
Got it.
Yes, hi there. My name is Leo Tapia. I'm with the Planning Division. I'd like to take this time to introduce myself. I will be I don't know if you can see me now. I will be filling in terms of the role of clerking this meeting. I will do my best to kind of get everything going along. So with that, I will pass it over to Commissioner Barnes to take over.
So clarification, you'll be clerking in the sense that, for instance, when Mr. Turner has his first project, you'll be coordinating between any of the staff that are presenting projects. Is that correct?
I will be reading out the public comments that come in during the public comment period, and then each individual project planner, I believe, will coordinate with their applicants, and then Vaughn will handle any behind the scenes assignments of assigning the microphone and assigning the sharing of the clickable items.
Okay, and then quickly, we had an issue last time with feedback, and as a result of the feedback, all the commissioners were muted, and as a result of the commissioners being muted, there was this lag time between when I would call on a commissioner, they would start to give comment, but they weren't unmuted. Are you going to be running the controls, first of all, and second of all, if you are, whomever is, will the commissioners be on unmute and it's up to them to mute themselves, or are you going to be doing a master control? I would prefer to have the people, have the commissioners managing their own mute. Tell me what's going to happen.
The commissioners should be able to unmute themselves.
Okay.
I had to dial in as I was on by the organizer, mute only.
It's Michelle, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, great. If you're by phone, just basically self-manage. Last meeting we were managed for, and this time we'll self-manage and see how that goes. Because if the feedback doesn't recreate itself, then we'll be fine with the self-management. Okay, so I'm gonna check in. I'm ready to go. Leo, you ready to go as well?
Yes.
Okay,
You may
great.
proceed.
So, I'm sorry, yes?
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you. Great. So with that, I will call to order the April 6th, 2020 meeting of the Menlo Park Planning Commission. First thing I'll do is do a roll call, and if you would show your video when I call your name, then we'll know that you are present. Commissioner Kale.
I'm here.
Thank you. Commissioner Tate.
I'm here.
Great. Commissioner DeCarty.
Good evening.
Good evening. Commissioner Doran. Good evening. Commissioner Kennedy.
Hello.
Hello and good evening. And finally, Commissioner Riggs.
Present.
Great. Let the record show that Commissioners Barnes, Kale, Tate, DeCarty, Doran, Kennedy, and Riggs are all present for tonight's Planning Commission meeting. reports and announcements. Customarily, we look to staff for any reports and announcements. Leo, I'll ask you that question. Are there any reports and announcements from staff? Oh, good evening.
Good evening, Commissioner Barnes, or Chair Barnes and Commissioners. So I'll be acting as liaison and Leo will be as a city clerk. So for reports and announcements, so tomorrow night the City Council will be meeting, mainly talking about their response to COVID-19 and priorities in dealing with the crisis, as well as kind of an update on what different departments will be doing. And that concludes my reports and announcements, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. If there's any commissioners with a question for Ms. Sandmeyer, please show your thing. Commissioner Doran. You're muted. You got to unmute yourself. Still muted. Still no audio. No. Nothing. Okay. So with that, if technical support can reach out to Commissioner Doran to see what he does, what he can do to get his audio up and running. Make sure he's not master muted.
Yeah, this is Leo speaking. It looks like his microphone is turned on. I'm not sure why his audio is not coming through to us.
Okay. Commissioner Doran, can you hear us? You can hear us. Okay. One alternative is to call in via the telephone if you're having a difficulty with your computer. Do you have that number handy? Okay, good. So I will, while Commissioner Doran calls in, I'll continue with, well, actually, let me see. Commissioner Doran, would you like me to wait for your question to staff? Wait for the question or can proceed? Wait, okay. Take a moment. Everyone's getting a look at my wife's crafting room, which I'm working out of.
Looks very nice.
Yes, she's quite organized. You've got
You got
the
bins.
paper section. She's got container store bins. Yes, yes, sorry, Bob. She's a card. She got a lot of bonus points in that. Commissioner Doran.
Hey, Andrew, as summer break has now started 2 months early, you're going to love that crafting room even more.
Yes, yes, yes. There is no. Yes. Technical support. Do we have audio on Commissioner Doran? Excuse me, audio and or visual?
Commissioner Doran, maybe can you connect and reconnect and go back in, because we can see your camera on, we can see the mic is on, but we can't hear you.
I think he's got a couple messages in the chat if somebody wants to read those.
$7:13. My control was off mute. I must have been muted by the organizer.
Excuse me, Chair Barnes, this is Leo. If you would like
Yes,
to
sir.
proceed while we work out the technical issues that are currently affecting Commissioner Doran. So if you'd like to proceed so we can get the meeting going along.
Yes. Give me one more moment if he's got something for this. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll come back on informational items and I'll check back in with him if he has anything to ask staff. Okay, so you guys work on that and we'll proceed to item D, public comment. This is under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda and items listed under consent calendar. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 30 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. So what public comment is general public comment is for someone who may be wanting to offer public comment on an item that's not on the agenda. So if you've got a public comment on F1 or on F2, I will call for public comment for those respective agenda items. If you have public comment for something not on there, now is your time to signal to what was Judy last week. I'm not clear how we're going to do public comment this year. Could someone weigh in on how that's going to work, and do we have any public comment?
Yeah, Commissioner Barnes, that's going to be me, Leo, handling the public comments. So if you're attending this meeting and if you have a question or comment to address during this period, please please click on the hand icon next to your name. That way we can see that you have a question, and then I will call on you and then you will have an opportunity to speak. So I'll give it a moment to see if anyone has any questions. Again, just click on the hand icon next to your name. And I'm not seeing any hand icons, so I'll give it back to you, Commissioner Barnes.
Thank you. So having no public comment, we'll move to consent calendar. I'll close public comment and then move to consent calendar. This is consent calendar E1, approval of the minutes for March 9, 2020, Planning Commission meeting. Commissioner DeCardi.
I move approval as submitted.
First from DeCardi, Commissioner Riggs.
I will second.
First from DeCardi, second from Riggs to approve the minutes from the March 9th, 2020 meeting. All in favor, please hit your video cam button. We've got Commissioner Riggs, Kennedy, DeCardi, and then sign off once you've signed up. And I've said your name, Commissioner Tate. All, Commissioner Doran. All opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. And all abstaining.
I'm going to abstain. I wasn't there.
Commissioner Carroll abstaining. So let the record show that it is Barnes, Riggs, Kennedy, DeCardi, Tate, and Doran. That is 6-4, and no against, and 1 abstention, Commissioner Kale. We're going to move to item.
Andrew?
Excuse me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
And I'll check back on with you, Commissioner Doran, for whatever you wanted to say under the reports and announcements during informational items. We're going to move now to item F, public hearing. F1, use permit, 488 Gilbert Avenue. This is a request for a use permit to construct first and second story additions to an existing single-story, single-family residence on a substandard lot with regard to minimum lot width in the R1U single-family urban residential zoning district. The project would exceed 50% of the existing floor area and is equivalent to a new structure. 1 heritage sized plum tree is proposed for removal as part of the project. Good evening, Mr. Turner, I believe.
Good evening, commissioners. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Perfect. I do not have anything to add to the staff report at this time.
Do any commissioners have any clarifying questions for staff with regard to the staff report? Seeing no Commissioner Kale.
Thank you. Mr. Turner, I have one question. In the staff report, there was a note about the windows and if there were appropriate materials. Was that talking about the windows and the trim around that, or what exactly was the reference to?
Yes, the reference was to the vinyl windows with the PVC trim. Historically, we've received comments from planning commissioners with some concerns about this type of material, so we figured we would mention it in the staff report in case there are still those concerns.
Great, thank you.
Seeing no other hands raised for staff for clarifying questions on the staff report, I will proceed now to call up the applicant to tell us about their project. Good evening.
Oh, hi, good evening. I'm the designer. Are you calling me?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
designer.
Oh, okay. All right. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Hua Feng. I'm the designer for this addition remodel project at 488 Gilbert Avenue. Yeah, the owner is seeking a use permit for this addition project. Yes, the house located at is a one-story home. Currently, it is a one-story home. It's about 1,130 square feet. It has a 7,736 square feet lot. It locates in the R1U zoning district. Currently, currently it has 2 bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms. It also has a detached 2-car garage to the rear of the building. It is built in 1959. It locates in this beautiful community in the vicinity of the Willow. Sorry, it's a little bit lost. In this Willow Oak Park. To the left, the neighborhood to the left, it's a 1-story single-family house, and the second next door is a 2-story house. The right neighbor, it's a newly remodeled 1-story house, and cross street. Right cross street are 3 units, are all 2-story houses. Since currently this 1-story house only have 2 bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms, it's the owner think it doesn't meet the family needs. The owner has 2 adult children. So they both live in the Bay Area and visit the owner regularly. The owner hoped to expand the house to provide more living area and more rooms, more bedrooms. She hoped to add this second story, and it is roughly 1,150 square feet to this existing one-story house. If you look at the floor plan, you will see the entire house is redesigned, divided to the two function. On the first floor, the existing kitchen is converted to a new den, and the existing living room is enlarged, and it also encloses the existing front porch as part of it. And toward the rear are dining room and family room with a sliding door leads to the backyard. The new kitchen locates next to the staircase and the family room. The existing laundry room and connected half bathroom remain unchanged. The new second floor has 3 master suites. 2 small ones are for the adult children, and they are identical almost. The one facing front is for the owner couple. It has a walk-in closet and a bigger bathroom. Currently, the one-story house, the ceiling height is 8 feet. So after the new design, the ceiling would be raised to 9 feet high. The proposed 2-story building then would be about 23.5 feet tall. The existing chimney is kept and removed, and the existing 2-car garage remains as it is now. For the exterior elevation, the current exterior has stucco finish, and the roof material uses the composite shingle with a roof pitch of 4 to 12. But the new design, the proposed 2-story residence will have a hip roof using the similar color and material to the existing roof, and the exterior will still use the stucco finish, match the existing finish on the first floor, and the hip would be the roof will be hip, and the entrance has 2 decorative columns with a pediment. Windows are the front and the rear elevations. Windows are most sliders, also with the recessed wainscot panel below the front windows. 2 decorative grills are used below the arc windows on the first floor. And yeah, we revised the original design to the current design to comply with the daylight plan. So for now, it's we fully comply with the entire building falls within this daylight plan envelope. And for the privacy, the left side neighbor at 492 Gilbert Avenue is a one-story home, and I'm sorry. Our addition of the second floor will have 2 small windows facing the left neighbor. The bedroom windows is okay, is 2.5 by 4, so it is mainly for the ventilation purpose and a complement to the solar access for the bedroom. Another one. Another one is a small window for the bathroom. The distance between the left neighbors to the addition is about 12 feet. And in between, there are 2 big and tall, well-grown trees with large canopy. So these 2 trees basically block the direct view between 2 adjacent houses. So I think probably privacy concern would not be a big problem. The right side neighbor is 482 Gilbert Avenue. It's also a one-story house. The second floor addition has 3 windows right facing the right neighbor. Those windows are 4 feet tall with ranging from 2.5 to 3 feet. The distance between 2 neighbors are like 27 feet. And there are a couple of private trees sit between 2 neighbors, so it somehow form a screen blocking the direct sight. To the rear of the property, it's a willow oak park, so no private concern would be considered. The cross street neighbor is also a 2-story house. The distance between 2 is about it's over about like 100 feet. And in the front yard, there's a big so what is that called? Tree's name? Oh yeah, there's a very big tree in the front yard. So it successfully provide a buffering between the new second floor addition and the cross street neighbor. Basically, we think the design meet the requirement from the city of Menlo Park. Yeah, the location, the size, and it's consistent with the purpose of the district where it's located and conforms significant respects with the city and other applicable plan. Yes. That's basically, yes, what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. I'll call for my fellow commissioners if anyone has a clarifying question to the applicant. Commissioner Doran.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Right. I'm just wondering about the roof pitch. It's a very low pitched roof for a house in this style. It's a colonial style house, and the originals this was modeled over would have a much steeper pitched roof. You mentioned that you made some changes to comply with the daylight plan. But I'm looking at page E5 in the staff report, and you have a lot of room left in the daylight plane. And I'm just wondering if part of the reason, or if any of the reason for such a low pitch is because of the daylight plane, and if you are giving further thought to any changes there. Personally, I think it would look better with a steeper pitch roof.
Oh, okay. Yes, for the daylight plan, actually, we original design is the first floor, 4-story height is 10 feet. So you will see it's no matter how we change the roof pitch, it doesn't help. So we lowered the 1st-story height to 9 feet. Yeah, the roof, well, since it's composite shingle, so 2.5 is okay for the rain drainage purpose. And yes, the owner actually herself has very clear idea what the house should look like, and yeah, so that's she actually thought 2.5 would be a good one for her house, and so that's why and the functional it works, so that's why we apply this one 2.5 to 12.
Commissioner Kale.
Commissioner Riggs was first, but I don't mind going.
Commissioner Riggs, you okay with Commissioner Kale jumping the
Sure.
list here?
Yeah.
Commissioner Kale.
Okay, thank you. I have a number of questions. One is, yeah, I totally agree with Commissioner Doran's comment about the steeper roof pitch. Also related to that, as a colonial style structure, you typically do not see a stucco material. Did you give any consideration to another material such as a wood siding for the house?
No, not really. Yeah,
Okay.
we try to minimum the construction cost. That's another reason we choose this kind of design and right on top of the existing building, and try to use as much as possible of the existing house and structure and foundation, yeah, as much as possible.
Okay. My next question is, the chimney looks like it is, the fireplace and chimney look like they remain, but the chimney just kind of stops and just dives into the second floor. What's happening there?
Yes, it's just removed the top part, and to you know, actually, if we remove the chimney, there might be some structure issue we have to consider. So this is also the cost consideration, to simply leave it there and simply cap it, and so we don't have to do any yes, more structure design.
So you're just abandoning the fireplace,
Yes.
the use of it then, okay?
Yes, right.
The entry feature, can you tell me how deep that is?
That's about 4 inches thick.
Okay.
It's more decorative purpose.
And then to the window question, you're using vinyl windows with, I think, a PVC trim.
Yeah.
Have you given any consideration to wood windows with a wood trim?
Yeah, because wood window is, of course, from aesthetic purpose, that would be look better. But I talked with the owner that she probably more concerned about the maintenance and weatherproof, you know, those kind of issues. So yeah, so that's the primary reason she prefer the vinyls. And I personally think currently, there are a lot of vinyl windows like Milgrade, Anderson. They can be painted and they look like quite similar to wood looking, and so make it. I think it's would be not a bad idea to use it. But
Okay.
yeah.
And my last question is, I noticed in the your letter that the owner talked to the neighbors. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, she talked with the at that time she talked with the right side neighbor on the house with
How about the left side neighbor?
yeah, so the owner is here, so can she talk more about it?
Are you asking us if she can talk?
Yeah, she is here. I don't know. I can't actually see her name here, but
So if the owner is there, she's welcome, he or she, whomever, is welcome to introduce themselves and give any commentary that they would like in response to Commissioner Gale's questions. I'll go to technical support. Do we see someone on the line who is coming in as part of the applicant team?
What is the
Hey there,
name of the owner?
Yeah, what's the name of the owner?
Wenfen, W-E-N-F-E-N, or Jacqueline. I don't know which name she is using for the.
If the owner is not available, I could just revise my question for the applicant.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So.
Commissioner Gale, why don't you go ahead? I don't see her anywhere.
Okay. Sure. So let me just put it this way. You noted that that privacy on the left side is not a big problem, but I see a large window at the staircase.
Oh.
Hello?
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Now. Yes.
Okay. So on the left side, I see a large window at the staircase and two other bedroom windows that are 4 feet tall, and the house next door is fairly close. Have you considered the privacy concerns from that point of view?
If you look at the yeah, let me get to my. Yeah, if you look at the site plan, you will see number 5 and number 6 tree. Number 6 are located right in between, next to the fence. So its location right block right block the window of the second, right block the window of the bedroom to the rear, and the rear bedroom, and also I guess it's and a part of the window in the staircase.
I see. Okay, thank you very much. That answers my questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Riggs.
Yes, thank you. First, my thanks to Commissioner Kale for asking 3 of my questions, which leaves only the second floor windows. I see in the text that, well, actually on the window schedule, that they would be double hung windows except for 2 sliders. I look at the elevations and I think I'm seeing 4 sliders, 2 in the front and 2 in the rear. Can you, through the chair, asking the applicant if we could get clarity on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me get to the elevation. Yeah, the front. So yeah, let me see if I understand your question. So you're talking about the front elevation and the rear elevation, the window style, is it?
Yeah, the second floor windows, right?
Yeah, right. The front window, the front on the second floor, there are 3 windows. All of them are sliders, and to the rear there are 2 sliders and 1 double hang. And the double hang actually is a bathroom window.
All right, so the new
Yeah, it's
window
narrow.
predominantly will be sliders.
Yeah, mostly. Oh, the front and the rear mostly are sliders.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for any other clarifying questions to the applicant before I call for public comment? Seeing no other commissioners, I will now call for public comment on this issue. I'll ask for Leo to again educate anyone who has come on later how public comment works from a mechanics standpoint.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnes. For those who weren't here earlier, if you do have a comment during this period for this item, please raise your hand in the attendees section, and please click on the hand icon next to your name. It looks like we do have 2 hands raised, and I will go ahead and present your name and then give you the opportunity to speak through the microphone. It looks like 1 individual also wrote in their comment, but I will give them an opportunity to speak through the microphone. So at this time, I will introduce Lauren Pellet. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on your microphone, Miss Lauren Pellet.
And Lauren, you have 3 minutes. Thank you. Good evening.
Lauren Pellet, you are good to go. It looks like sorry, if you can give us a second. It looks like there was a technical issue with the audio. We'll try to bring that individual back in. Would it be okay to proceed to the next individual on the queue?
Yes, please. Please.
Okay. So it looks like we have, I may be pronouncing this wrong, Jelena Jovanov. I will now give you an opportunity to speak through to the commission. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on your microphone at this time.
Yes, please give us your full name and your political jurisdiction or your address or the organization with which you are with. And you have 3 minutes. Good evening.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. This is Yelena Jovanov. So I'm the left neighbor, 482 Gilbert Avenue.
Yes, thank you. Please proceed.
So I wanted to notice that actually the neighbor never spoke to us about the house building. And one very important point is that there is one really tiny see-through, very, very tiny tree between, so we wouldn't have any privacy with the second story. So the information that is in on page E4, I believe about big tree 30 feet tall, it's completely not true information. And as well, when neighbor bought the house, she started building her fence on our property without even asking. And the fence between two properties is, there is still some space to move the fence into her property. It's not the right position, but yes, my point is that there wouldn't be any privacy for us, and that she never spoke to us about anything except trying building fence on our property. Thank you.
And before clarification,
sorry.
for 92 Gilbert, is that correct?
482 Gilbert.
Oh, you're 482. Okay, so looking at the subject property, you are to the right.
Looking to the property, we are to the right, correct.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, thank you for that. I'll move to the next person. And Leo, if you would announce who we have up next.
Yes, Mr. Commissioner, it looks like we have Laurent Pellet. I'm going to go ahead and turn on their microphone at this time. So you are now live.
Hello. Great. Good evening. Thank you for offering public comment. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name or organization. And good evening.
Yes, good evening. I'm Laurent Pellet. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry, I'm at work, so it's not so convenient. I just want to reconfirm what my wife just said. We live on the 482 Gilbert Avenue. We are on the right side of the property when we face the properties. I have, in addition to what my wife said, despite the statements of the representative of the Miss Wong that spoke before, and she was asked 2 times to confirm that Miss Wong spoke with the neighbor. Miss Wong never spoke with any neighbor of our family. We are not aware about this project, and the statements of the representative of the Miss Wong is absolutely incorrect during this commission. That's my first point. Second point, there is 3 reports that I saw at the end of the documents that I could read today, and it's named some cypress trees. These cypress trees are planted on our property. And we had an issue already with Ms. Wong, as noted by my wife, that she started to build and put concrete on our property without speaking to us. And I asked the original owner about the property boundaries, and the fence that is currently built between the 2 properties is 1 foot in our property. So actually, the current limitation of the property by the fence is incorrect by 1 foot. There are marks on the ground that can be used by any geometer, I suppose. to reconfirm the property boundaries. But we have an issue on the property boundaries, and we need to solve this issue before any construction is started. And the last point, as written on the report from the architect, there are no 30 feet high trees between the two properties. There are maximum 2 meters, and this is not trees, this is vague plants between the two properties. So there is a privacy issue that we need to address. Thank you very much.
And before you go, would you be so kind as to state your name one more time, please?
Laurent Pellet, P-E-L-L-E-T.
Thank you. Moving back to Leo, do we have any other public comment?
It does not look like we have any additional comments at this time, so I will now turn it back to you, Chair.
You did reference something in written form. Is that different?
That was the same applicant that just spoke. He addressed all the comments that he had in written form. He just verbally communicated them to you.
Great. So with that, I will call for any final public comment and take a moment to see if there's anything else. Then I will close it. So I'll give it about a minute and then close public comment on this agenda item. Hearing of no other public comment, I will now close public comment and bring it back up to the virtual dais for commissioner discussion. Commissioner Kale. Mike.
There we go. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you.
So on the positive side, I appreciate that the ceiling heights are kept down to 9 feet on the first floor and 8 feet on the second floor. But there are a number of issues that need to be addressed from my point of view for approval. The first of all is, as Commissioner Doran noted, the roof pitch. The colonial style roofs usually are steep roofs with minimal or no overhangs, and this does not meet that criteria. The second is one of the hallmarks of the style is symmetry, and from a first look, it looks symmetrical, but it's not really. If you look at the second floor window over the entry, you can see it's not centered on the ridge above, so it's just a little bit off, which could be addressed. The third issue is the materials. I think stucco is really not appropriate for this style of building. The fourth issue is the windows, just the vinyl windows with the PVC trim, and also the arches. I mean, they can work. I couldn't really find any good examples of, they're not typically used, I guess, basically, with this style house. The fifth is the entry door. There's probably going to be some more detail to it, but it should have something more than just a slab look. And the issue, of course, with the neighbors, there's some miscommunication, or there's some inaccuracies is about regarding who was spoken to, and I think that needs to be addressed before this can be approved. So in summary, I think we're getting the cheapest building we can possibly get here. It's a box. It's all stucco. The fireplace is going to be abandoned but not removed. And the windows are just the sort of the cheapest windows with the cheapest trim we could get. So I'm going to have a hard time approving this. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Riggs.
Yes, thank you. I've, as you would have guessed earlier, had similar reactions, and to try to put this into an approval perspective, part of our task on the Planning Commission is to make sure that projects that come forward are compatible with the neighborhood. And while staff has to put the emphasis on daylight plane and flood elevation and basics like that, it is left to this commission to assure that the community is not harmed by the by a proposal. And of course, our commission does have a history of trying to defend a neighborhood aesthetic. One of the findings that we have to make is that the project will not be detrimental to the neighborhood, to I think it was the values and that is property values and so forth. I do, and I do this with a fair amount of thought because I am concerned about the concept of property rights. But I have to say that this house, I wasn't going to put it quite so bluntly, but I can't find any fault with Commissioner Kale noting that this is just a cheap project. And that is, I think, certainly borne out by the designer's earlier comments about why some of the choices were made. Certainly, this is not a colonial style, and there's no requirement that it be a colonial style, but it should be either a style that can be followed, and therefore history says that this is aesthetically pleasing, or it can be a design from the ground up, which is very challenging for all architects and designers, that manages to have the integrity and quality of design without leaning on an existing and recognized style. This house certainly cannot be said to have either of those. Just to put some specifics on my agreement with previous comments. For example, the roof pitch of a colonial would have been designed for either heavy rains or, in most cases, also for snow. A 2.5 to 12 pitch would never, ever be considered. The materials would not be stucco unless someone, an owner, had changed their mind and decided that maybe they'd like to have sort of a Normandy chateau look, but never finished it. It would be wood siding, either horizontal boards or shingles. By the way, both of those are available in reasonably priced cementitious products that look just as good when painted and are very durable. In fact, speaking beyond, say, 5 decades, they are more durable from my point of view. The arches, I have to agree, are not colonial unless they have heavy moldings on them and are in a building of a different scale than this. The entry door certainly is a surprise, but not as much of a surprise as what appears to be a portico on the front elevations. And only if you're used to looking at such drawings would you look at the proposed right elevation and see that it's nothing but an applique. So for example, those would not be columns, those would be some kind of pilasters. The pilasters are not in any way detailed. We don't know whether they're fluted, flat, whether they have tops and bottoms. We don't know anything about the pediment either. It looks as though these are applied concepts to try to make a very simple stucco box look like something more than it is. And that doesn't really work in real life. And then the idea of sliders on a colonial is a bit of humor, but the mixture of sliders on the top floor, except for some side windows, and the double hungs on the first floor is something that I don't think we've accepted on very many projects. And then the idea of simply putting a sloped cap on the fireplace, the chimney, is one of the oddities of looking at this house. So I think it's just part of our responsibility. Well, I have to speak for myself. My responsibility to say, this is not what I think Gilbert Avenue is looking forward to. If you look at recent projects on Gilbert, it's really quite different. And while I think anyone can sympathize with trying to hold costs down, to try to hold costs down while increasing the value of your property by $1 million or so is maybe a little less sympathetic. So I would have to say that I would have a lot of trouble moving forward with this project. So thank you.
Commissioner Doran.
Well, I'd just like to observe in passing that there is actually, I believe, nothing wrong with the box. I don't think that every house has to have a profusion of gables in order to be, interesting or correct or proper for Menlo Park. But I do think that if you're going to build a simple box, you really need to get the details right. It becomes very important to get the details right. I'm sorry, I don't think this house did. I think I can't really add anything to the litany of grievances from our two architects, but I certainly would have a problem approving it in present form. And I'm also troubled by what we heard from the neighbors and possible misrepresentations about the ag reach. And I think it'd be useful if we continued the application in order for there to be more dialogue with the neighbors, and in order for the staff to have an opportunity to, find out what's actually been said to who and when.
Commissioner DeCarty.
Through the chair, I'd like to understand if staff has any clarification or further information about the disputed property line that was raised by the public comment.
Mr. Turner.
Can you clarify your question as far as certain aspects of the fence? There is a survey located in the plan set on sheet this is sheet 3 of the plan set. The survey does show a fence line mostly on the neighboring property to the right. As far as any construction or dispute in constructing a fence on their property, that's not anything I'm aware of. Fences don't require or standard wood fences don't require a building permit. So it's nothing that staff would be aware of unless, there is this sort of dispute. And I hadn't heard anything to this point. Typically, the city stays out of issues with fencing. That's more of a civil matter. If it does come to that, the city would stay out of it.
So then I guess I'm a little perplexed about how to approve. My understanding from the public comment is maybe I'm asking this of staff. On F9, which is, I guess, the arborist report, there are trees 13 through 21, and it looks like they're included in the arborist report for 488, but I believe from a public comment that the residents next door are saying those trees are on their property. So, and I guess just to understand from the planning department, that's not, you stay out of that concern. Do I have that right?
As far as the trees go, arborist reports, when the arborist goes out and studies a property and the trees on it, they're not surveyors, so their boundary lines may be a bit, unless they have the survey in front of them, their boundary lines may be a bit off. Certainly looking at the survey in the plan set, if we scroll back up there, it does appear, it doesn't show the trees on the subject property, so there is a chance that they are on this, on the neighboring property. But another survey or an updated survey or a survey of the neighboring property would have to show that.
Okay, thank you. To add my comments, I appreciate the comments of the previous three commissioners. I certainly understand and can sympathize with the concerns about the style and the mismatch and some of the features. I am in these situations often aware that were the dimensions of this particular piece of property different, we would never have seen this. It would never have come to the Planning Commission because it would have met all the requirements. And the only reason we're seeing this is a substandard lot with width. So from an equity standpoint, I am concerned when there's a project that our staff has reviewed, does believe is amenable to the neighborhood and fits in the community, and we then interfere in a dramatic degree when this same house would have been able to be built on any number of other properties in the city. So in terms of my concerns, I don't share those in this instance for that reason. I am concerned about the comments from the neighbors about the property line, and I don't know what to do with that. I don't like the notion of approving something when there is some disconnect, it looks like, between neighbors, especially since one of the issues with this property is width, and so they are closer to each other. And for me, that is something feels important to be addressed in some way, and based on the exchange I had with staff, I'm not sure what to do about that. And then finally, the recognition of some of the privacy concerns, and that what looks like the privet hedge may not be helpful enough for the neighbors. Again, I think dialogue between the two property owners could just come to some agreement about how to get better privacy, given that we're moving to a two-story building looking down on a one-story building. Those would be the issues that are on my mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Tate.
I completely agree with Commissioner DeCarty with everything that he said. So that's a ditto for that. And I'm definitely concerned about the property line.
Thank you. So we'll be looking for a motion from a commissioner. Commissioner Riggs.
Yes, but Does Ms. Sandemeyer have a comment before I speak?
Let me see.
Yeah.
Commissioner, Ms. Sandemeyer.
Yes, thank you. So through the chair, I just wanted to comment on the issue about the property lines. So we do have a survey that shows that the fence is a little bit off the property line as those neighbors described. And I think maybe their concern was that the property line is being measured from the fence, but that's not how the house will be constructed based on the actual property line and not on the fence. So we do have accurate dimensions of the property. So it's not a situation where we don't know what the width is. We know what the width and length and all that are. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, so we to add some color to that, we have a survey that's representative of that. What we don't know are any of the representations as it relates to either party in terms of where the trees that were in the arborist report, whose are they on, whether fence was constructed in the right place or not. And that's something that, from your perspective on staff, that's not you're not looking in and digging into that unless it's brought to you, and even then that's somewhat out of your purview. Is that correct?
Well, I think kind of what Chris was alluding to is if there's a fence that's not built at the right point or at the right line, it's more of a kind of civil dispute between neighbors, and we wouldn't get involved with that. I think what we should have been more involved with was making sure the survey matched the arborist report matched the survey. So I think we should have looked into that a little more. And now I see, based on the survey, it looks like the arborist report was incorrect in saying that those trees were on the subject property when they really are on the neighbors. So I apologize. We should have looked into that a little more. It's just kind of what Chris was saying, I think, is, we wouldn't really get involved and say this fence is in the wrong place. That's kind of between the neighbors. But we do know from the survey that it is slightly off the property line and over into the neighbor's property where it shouldn't be.
Thank you. And I'll look back to Commissioner DeCardi. Do you have any follow-up to that, or you consider the issue closed as far as anything else you need to know?
That's very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Riggs.
I did want to make a motion, but just to clarify, because I got lost a little bit just in the last 2 minutes. I believe the public speakers were addressing the fact that a replacement fence was being built, including the concrete base for posts, and that this construction of the new fence was their concern, particularly that there was no request of whether this could be built. And presumably the applicant would have been the one who had a survey and knew where the fence existing was relative to the property line and was building a new fence, again, off property. And I did not hear them say anything about the setback, although that did occur to me briefly until I remembered that the setbacks are set by a surveyor at the beginning of the project. So just a note that it seemed to be two different discussions. So I would like to make a motion here. And although I hate to slow down a project at any point, even under these, shall I say, relatively slow conditions of our current life. But if I were to move to continue this project, that would imply that this project would be acceptable with some minor revisions. And I am not sure that that is possible. However, I'm going to make that motion. So I move that the project be continued for aesthetic reasons, and to the two previous commissioners who spoke. Of course, this is only my opinion, but I think one of the reasons that certain projects come to the commission for non-conforming lots is that almost always it's an issue of lot width. And when the lot is not as wide, you don't have the opportunity to put as much landscaping around the property. And as we have seen and will see every 2 weeks, year after year, the projects that come forward on substandard lots tend to be built to the 2,800 square foot or 3,000 square foot, whatever the FAL comes forward. And it does have more impact than a project that is on a lot of at least the minimum width. So I think although there are pros and cons involved, I hope we are not divided into camps of no, we cannot speak, and yes, we should speak. There is a middle ground there, and there was intent, from my humble opinion. So I will move that we would continue this project for redesign regarding exterior materials, including siding, windows, window shapes as well as type, entry door or entry design, which frankly, we really haven't been presented with an entry design. There aren't probably 20 lines on that drawing. And a response regarding the roof pitch, a roof pitch that is consistent with whatever style is ultimately chosen for this project. So that is my motion for continuation.
Commissioner Kale.
Thank you. I'd like to second the motion and ask the maker if he would like to include making sure that there's some symmetry to the building and also issues with the neighbor are resolved.
Yes, I can support addressing those two issues. Yes, some kind of, in terms of the symmetry, it's addressed in some manner. The project might not come back in full symmetry, but addressed in some manner. Yes.
Perfect, thank you. That's my second.
Okay, so I have a first from Riggs, second from Kale, and the conditions related to the continuance are number one, exterior materials. Commissioner Riggs, I think you referenced them as siding, but shall we, in a broader sense, exterior materials, 2 windows, the shapes and the type. Number 3 is entry design. Number 4 is roof pitch. Number 5, as added by the seconder, is symmetry to the building. And number 6 is the demonstrated neighbor outreach. Does that accurately represent the maker and the seconder's intention?
Yes.
Yes, and I neglected to mention the fireplace. It would be nice to, wouldn't turn down the project solely for that, but as long as we're listing the challenges here, the remaining fireplace should be a part of the architecture in some way.
I'll look to the seconder for.
Yes, of course.
So that is the remaining. So the remaining fireplace should be part of the architecture. Okay, before I check in with staff to get their understanding, I saw Commissioner Kennedy had raised her video cam. Do you have, and anyone, before I call for a vote, who would like to give any other comments? Seeing no other commissioner comments, Commissioner DeCardi. Mike.
I'd love to have it clarified with staff first, and then I could make a comment if that would be okay.
You prefer if I clarified first with staff?
Yes, and then I would make a comment.
Sure. Look, Mr. Turner, of those 7 items related to the continuance, and the continuance is for aesthetic reasons, in those 7 items to be considered by the applicant, and that would be obviously at the applicant's discretion to the extent to address these, but these are part of the motion and the aesthetic reasons articulated for the reasons related to the conformance. Do you have any questions, and are you clear on the understanding of what's been said?
I'm clear. I think it may be beneficial if there was a little bit more concrete of a direction. It's a little bit difficult to work with applicants if we don't have an understanding of what type of siding material or a specific window material that the Planning Commission is looking for. It can be difficult if the project is continued to work with them to get it to a point where we feel that the Commission's concerns have been addressed. So if there are any clarifying comments from any of the commissioners, the motion or the second, as far as maybe what specific materials you would look for.
I'll look to the maker to respond.
Yes, I had mentioned in my comments that a couple of hardy products would, at reasonable cost and with good durability, address the siding. So one would be lap siding, and the other would be the hardy shingles, or of course competitors. But I would, and then 2 windows. If we were to go with any traditional style, not just colonial, that would include a window sill along with, or more appropriately termed a stoop, along with some definition of what the trim would be. Is it just 4 inches up and around and back down again? But I want to note that although the applicant had indicated colonial as the style intended, that the project doesn't have to be colonial. It just has to be consistent, and it has to be of sufficient quality to belong in Menlo Park. It isn't just the willows. I'm not sure there are any neighborhoods in Menlo Park where we wouldn't want to say this is a town with some pride and certain minimum aesthetics, and we would like to hold to that. So it could be another style, but it does have to it does have to have some design integrity and quality of materials and form. I don't know, Chris, is that helpful or too much?
No, that's definitely helpful. Thank you.
I'll look to the seconder for any other additional response to Chris, if you'd like to give it.
No, Commissioner Riggs did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Decardi.
Yeah, so I'll vote against this, as I indicated before. But I just wanted to address the comment about the concern that Commissioner Riggs had about being in different camps on particular aspects of this type of project. And I don't feel that way. I am highly sympathetic to the points that have been raised by the maker and the seconder of this motion. I think the project will look better when it comes back, and appreciate those comments. I simply think in this instance, it has to be balanced against the hardship for the owner, the expense of coming back again, the equity with other property uses. And for me, that's a determinative factor in this case. So I will vote against, given that this motion is made for aesthetic reasons. Thanks.
I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about the neighborhood outreach process, and that I think it's broken. During my time on Planning Commission, my impression is that the instructions given to applicants, or if the instructions haven't changed, the delivery of what is held to be as neighbor outreach has gradually deteriorated, and we've seen that in a number of projects, and we saw it again this evening with the neighbor calling in and saying, hey, look, I never saw this thing. I don't think it's too much to ask for, as part of the submission process, you simply take out your part, you take out the map, you look at who's 2 to your left, 2 to your right, directly across the street, 1 over across the street, and 1 over the other across the street to the left and the right, and you open up a grid and you say, who's there, what's their name, did I talk to them, did I show my plans to them, what was their response? We get these very fungible neighborhood outreach responses, and I'd like for staff to be more prescriptive in terms of the baseline for what neighborhood outreach is. And I think it's a very minimal level of effort, but if we think of what we're doing here, the use permit process should be less for the commissioners and our oversight of architecture, and really needs to be as much, if not more, the presentation of the proposed plans to the neighbors, because ostensibly we're having a use permit process because these are smaller lots, the impact to the neighborhood is greater. So if the impact of the neighborhood is greater because they are substandard lots, not having a tighter program for what encompasses neighborhood outreach runs counter to what part of the charter is for a use permit. So I would use this opportunity to again say I think the process is not tight, and it varies by project, and I think people take advantage of the process. Some doing full outreach, some don't. And I'll send this under separate cover to planning staff, but I would like to see that tightened up, and I think it's an important part of this process and the variability in it creates problems. Commissioner Kale.
Thank you. If I could just jump on that for a second. I agree. I can understand that the city of Menlo Park doesn't want to make this onerous on people submitting. And as someone who submits projects to lots of different cities, Menlo Park has a lot of requirements. I don't think it would be too difficult to add a prescriptive neighborhood outreach. For example, San Carlos, the city will actually print out the neighbors within a 300-foot radius. You're required to contact them and et cetera, and document what you've done. So I'm just backing up what you're saying, and I think it would be more useful for neighbors when they have a project being built in their neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are any other comments, and seeing none, I will call for a vote on the motion as made by Commissioner Riggs and seconded by Commissioner Kale. The way we'll do this is all in favor will hit their webcam so I can see them, and I will call out the yes, the no, and the abstentions. So all in favor of approving the project, excuse me, all in favor of Riggs and Kale's motion, please present. So I have Doran, Kale, Riggs, and I will add myself, Barnes. So all in favor of the motion are these four. I see Commissioner Kennedy, you're in the affirmative as well, Commissioner Kennedy, for the motion? You're nodding yes? Okay. So I've got Doran, Kale, Riggs, Barnes, and Kennedy voting yes on the motion. All opposed? Commissioner DeCarty, Commissioner Tate. The motion passes 5-2 with DeCarty and Tate voting no, Doran, Kale, Riggs, Barnes, and Kennedy voting yes. There are no abstentions. The motion passes. I will now recuse myself from the next item in that it is in my radius. And with that, I'll hand over the virtual gavel to Mr. Riggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item F2, this consists of a request for a use permit to demolish an existing single-story, single-family residence and construct a new two-story, single-family residence with an attached one-car garage on a substandard lot with respect to area and width. The subject property is in the R1U single-family urban residential zoning district. The proposal includes a request to remove a heritage London plane tree and a heritage flowering plum tree. Ms. Khan, I believe, is there any additional comment from staff?
Staff has no comment on the staff report. However, I do want to note that we did receive a correspondence by email by a neighbor, which was sent after the publication of the staff report. It will be read out loud during public comment.
All right, thank you. All right, proceeding then. Do we have any comments from, or specifically questions prior to the presentation by the applicant from fellow commissioners? If you click your video button if you have any questions. All right, seeing none, I'd like to move ahead with a presentation from the applicant. And do we have a presentation?
Yes, we do. I'm currently handing over the mouse to the applicant to proceed with the presentation.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Hi, Isabel, we cannot hear you.
Hello, hi. Before I begin the presentation, the owners would like to say a few words.
All right, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so thank you for letting us join your meeting today. We hope that everyone is staying safe. My name is Nick, and I'm joined here with my wife, Christina, and we plan to be living in this property. My mother, BTN, is also on this call, who has owned this house for a very long time. Just a brief intro about myself. I was born and raised in Stanford and always had intentions to settle down long-term in the Bay Area. I'm currently the director of bioinformatics at a LabCorp clinical genetics lab in Atlanta.
Hi, everyone. You'll get a chance to hear from all of us during this brief introduction. As Nick mentioned, my name is Christina, and I am a native Coloradan, but similar to Nick, I also work in the biotech industry as Associate Director of Corporate Strategy. Currently, we reside in Atlanta, Georgia, but we are in the process of trying to relocate to the Bay Area, or the property that's in question, to be closer to my mother-in-law. And at this time, I'll pass it over to BTN, my mother-in-law, to provide a brief history of the property, along with provide some context of the outreach that she has done. So BTN, if you want to unmute yourself, you can provide some information here.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My name is BTN Rouse, and I live now at Stanford, on the Stanford campus. And I love this house, Menlo Park, and I would like to rebuild it for my son. And you know what? We are the oldest owner of the whole on the Willow area, because we bought the house in '76 and we still kept it. We love that house because our wedding was in the backyard and it was just great. And the neighborhood is wonderful. And I did outreach my neighbor for the construction, and they all agree about the plan. And one of them even commented that it's a beautiful design from our architect. About I would like to say, and I would love my son to be able to move back to the Bay Area and live close to Stanford. Thank
you. All right, Nick, anything additional?
Nothing.
All right, back to you, Isabel. Do you want to say something about the design?
Yes, hello everyone, and thank you for taking the time to review the use permit proposal for a new two-story house at 209 Marmona Drive in Menlo Park. In order to ensure that the project would be compatible with the neighborhood context, we performed a neighborhood survey to identify nearby two-story homes. As you can see, there are a large number of two-story homes in the immediate context of 209 Marmona Drive. At a proposed height of 26 feet 6 inches, the house stands significantly below the 28-foot maximum allowed height. The house has 9'6" plate heights at the first floor and 8-foot plate heights at the second floor. Can I have control of the screen? Or is it just lagging?
It's lagging. You have
control. Oh, it's
control.
just lagging. Okay, cool. We are proposing the demolition of the existing single-family residence and the construction of a new 2-story single-family residence consisting of 4 bedrooms and 3.5 bathrooms. The project is located in flood zone AE 52.2. The style of the proposed residence is modern farmhouse with stucco walls and asphalt comp shingle roofing. The use of stucco as the main building material and the shingle roof are cohesive with the neighborhood context. Adhered lightweight stone veneer will accent the stucco walls, and the color palette of the house will be predominantly white, gray, and black. The proposed 2-story residence is similarly located to the existing residence with the garage at the front right side of the property. As you can see here, this is the existing residence and this is the proposed residence. One sec, trying to change pages. Okay, so we have pulled the 2nd-story massing in from the property lines and are proposing small windows with high sills on the 2nd-story elevations in order to minimize any privacy impacts to the side-facing neighbors. We had also originally explored a balcony on the 2nd story, but we removed it in order to minimize any privacy impacts. The project has only one very small allowable daylight plane protrusion, but it is compliant with the daylight plane, as you can see here. As you can see in the elevations, we are showing very minimal glazing on the side-facing elevations, and we are showing relatively high sill heights, as well as obscured glazing on this window and this window here. As noted in the project description letter, neighborhood outreach was performed and all responses received were in favor of the project. We received a recent response this morning from a neighbor that had concerns about the kitchen window over here, about the stairway window looking into her kitchen over here. And in response to that, we are proposing obscure glazing in that window. She also had some concerns about the noise from the HVAC units over here to her property, but the HVAC units are compliant with the Menlo Park noise ordinance. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. I'd like to go back just to check whether fellow commissioners have any questions before I open public comment. Mr. Kale.
Thank you. These are questions for the applicant, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. So you noted that the stucco material was consistent with the neighborhood. Did you consider a material that might be more consistent with the style, the modern farmhouse style?
Hi, yes, we did originally consider board and batten, but for cost reasons, we decided to go with stucco, and we also felt that it went well with the neighboring properties and that it also gave a very clean and contemporary look to the modern farmhouse.
Okay. Second question is about the air conditioning unit. So are they located? There's a little notch on the side of the house. Was that created for the air conditioning?
Yeah, we have the air conditioning units located in that notch there. And we have worked with the mechanical engineer to make sure that it complies with the noise ordinance.
Was the notch created specifically for the air conditioning
Yes.
condensers?
Yeah.
Okay. And how big of effect does the base flood elevation have on the design? Does it raise up the floor significantly?
Yes, it's raised up the floor significantly.
Okay. I'll note that at least in other cities, the air conditioners have to be above the BFE. So that may or may not help with the noise. Also, I noticed, this is just for your consideration, the forced air units under the staircase, there can't be any duct work below the BFE, so you may have to deal with that. But that's not really a question. I do have a question about the roof. So I notice, I count like up to 6 different roof pitches. Was there a reason for so many different types of, or so many different angles to the roof?
The different roof pitches are also so that the house can be in compliance with the daylight plane. As previously noted, we had to raise the house up pretty significantly due to the flood zone. And then we also thought aesthetically from the front that they paired nicely together, and it wasn't as noticeable that we were using different roof slopes.
Okay. And the covered patio in the back, is that a freestanding structure? Is that attached to the house in any way?
That is a freestanding structure.
Okay. And are you anticipating some sort of steel columns to make that work structurally?
Yes, yeah, we will work with the structural engineer on that.
Okay. And my last question is, I noticed 3 different chimneys, but only 2 fireplaces. Is there a reason for that third one in the middle?
So the reason for the third one in the middle is we often have chimneys to route the plumbing vents and those plumbing exhausts, so we don't see those sticking up through the roof. So we have those routed so that we can route from the first and second floor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, good questions and good answers. Any other commissioner questions? All right, seeing none, let's move to public comment. Leo, do we have any submitted requests for comment?
Thank you, Commissioner. For those just joining us again, if you have any comments or questions regarding this item in the agenda, please click the hand icon next to your name in the attendees list. And alternatively, you can also submit a question. And at this moment, I'm not seeing anything, but we can give it a sec if you'd like.
Yeah, let's give it like 30 seconds because if you're going to submit a question, you would have to type it out, I suspect.
Okay.
And so in a moment, we'll proceed with commissioner comments.
Vice Chair, if I may interrupt, I did receive the email correspondence from the neighbor that I would like to read out for public comment.
Yeah, please.
I hope you can see the screen being shared. This is from the next door neighbor, 205 Marmona Drive. We have 3 concerns regarding the use permit for 209 Marmona Drive. We live next door at 205 Marmona Drive, where we have been since 1992. We first off would like to compliment the owners for the nice design of their house and the effort they have made to lessen the impact on us. We do regret the large heritage plane tree that cools our yard must be removed in order to fit the house onto the lot. But we appreciate that the redwood A. We are concerned about the noise level of the two air conditioners. Page A1.0A shows their location 7 feet from the property line with note number 2, will not exceed 50 decibel at night and 60 decibel during the day at the nearest residential property line. We are also concerned about the noise from the two forced air units behind louver doors in that area as well. Page A2.1A. Our kitchen and patio are on the side of the house directly across from these units. What used to be their kitchen and patio is now this utility area, which is basically now our patio. We also have a bedroom on one side of the patio and a home office on the other, all within 6 to 12 feet from the property line. These are heavily used areas. We have measured what it would be like to have 60 decibel of noise during the day. This amount of noise is 20-inch fan on its highest setting. We would find that level of noise extremely unpleasant. The nighttime noise level is also a concern for not being able to sleep in the bedroom. We would like to understand the options for reducing that noise. We noticed on the web that air conditioning house for neighbors is a common problem, and enclosures with sound absorbing material can be used to decrease the noise. Soundproofing blankets are also available for the air compressors. Sound dampening material can be used in the area of the forced air units. Air conditioners can be chosen for their quietness. Perhaps 1 air conditioner instead of 2 to reduce the noise in half. Are there any options possible? Or could the air conditioners be placed on the other side of the house between the two garages? B. On page A3.0A, the left elevation view of the house shows a large 8-foot tall window in the stairwell. This is also directly across from our kitchen. We note that people on the stairs and in the upstairs hallway will be now able to see into our kitchen, patio, and bedroom. There is a skylight there. Can the window be smaller or translucent? There is a tall camellia shrub 1.5 feet away from the property line that would block this view, but it is being removed. Can this be trimmed and kept? C. We note the color palette is white, gray, and black. The afternoon sun is quite bright, and we will get a lot of glare from the 18-foot high side of the house. This would be uncomfortable when we are in our kitchen. Can the selected color of this wall not be a bright white? This would also be helped by keeping the camellia. Thank you for your consideration of these comments. Jim and Sarah Berg.
All right, thank you, Ms. Khan. And I believe we received that as an email, but it was just prior to the meeting. So maybe not all commissioners have had a chance to see that. So with that, let's move ahead with commissioner comments. Do I have any commissioners who would like to speak to this project? Mr. Kale.
Thank you. So I think overall the project is very supportable. The front elevation is particularly nice. Regarding the neighbors' comments, I have a few thoughts on the air conditioning. I'm concerned, as the neighbors would be, that it's in that little alcove, which is going to be kind of an echo chamber to some extent, and the fact that it has to be raised up higher to be above the base flood elevation. And perhaps it can be on the other side of the house as suggested, because there's no setback requirement, it's just a noise requirement. And the neighbor's house has a garage on that side, which would be preferable to the neighbors, where this would affect their patio and their outdoor area, from what I understand. I would not be so concerned about the forced air unit being that units that they're in an enclosed area. The obscure glazing is a great solution for the privacy concerns, and I'll note that the whole window, the whole 8-foot tall window, does not necessarily need to be obscured. If they want to just do some frosted glazing on the bottom half, they still can have some great view of the sky and not have that blocked. I'm not sure about the whiteness. There may be some concern with the brightness. Hopefully the applicants can work with the neighbors and ease their concerns about that. On the plus side, the proportions of the house are really nice. I appreciate the ceiling heights are reasonable at 9'6" and 8 feet, and also fair outreach was performed. So I think that's in the plus column. The only two drawbacks I see are the multiple roof pitches. Pitches. It seems like a lot of contortions may have been made in order to make the front elevation look so good. So, you know, I would personally would prefer to see no more than 2 or 3 different pitches. But that's sort of a minor comment. And the last comment is about the material. I think, as was pointed out in the last project by Commissioner Riggs, you know, a horizontal siding in a cement fiber material would still work with the price point you're trying to meet with the stucco, and would work much better with the modern farmhouse style that you're aiming for. So those are my comments. I would support the approval for this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kale. Do we have any other comments regarding this application? Mr. DeCardi.
Yeah, I appreciate Commissioner Kale's comments. The one issue I'd like to address is the heritage tree removal of the London plane tree. We see heritage tree removals quite frequently in these types of projects. Often the arborist report and the city arborist concurs that trees that are being removed are in poor shape, misshapen, diseased, otherwise would need to be removed. In this instance, the London plane tree would otherwise stay, but for its unfortunate location and the need for the project to be built as it is. In that instance, and as the letter from the neighbors noted, there are 2 trees replacing now because there are 2 heritage trees being removed. In an instance like this, I think it's important for us to acknowledge that we are taking a mature tree that is large and is part of the community out for no reason other than building the project. And in this type of instance, I would prefer to see a 2-to-1 replacement for this particular tree, which would make the project, instead of having 2 new trees, having 3, and that additional tree at the discretion of the property owner about where to place on the site. I just think this is important for us to acknowledge if we want to have neighborhoods like this one continue to have trees that will grow into being heritage trees in the future, while we're also allowing property owners to maximize the use of their property for their current benefit.
Thank you, Mr. DeCardi. Any other comments on the project from our commissioners? All right, seeing none, I will look for a motion on the project. Ms. Kennedy, hello. Audio. We don't have your audio on. Can you click that microphone, circular microphone? There you go.
Yeah, great, terrific. Hi. I think this project is well suited for the neighborhood. I think it's a very attractive project, and I move to approve it.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Kale.
Thank you. I would move to second, and I will appreciate Commissioner DeCardi's comments. If I read the report correctly, tree number 5, they went through a lot of efforts to save number 5, the redwood tree. And it is unfortunate that number 8 will have to be removed, but I also like the idea of the 2-to-1 replacement. I don't know if there's enough room on the site to do that. So I'm not going to request that. Maybe someone else will request that. So I'll just second the motion as it is presented.
Mr. DeCardi. Microphone.
Yeah, I appreciate Commissioner Kale's comments. I thought about that with the rest of the trees on the property. I'm fine not making it a condition of approval, but I wanted to state the reason why I think that's important and would hope that the property owner would understand that and would consider placement of additional replacement tree as they finish the project.
All right, thank you. My heart is certainly with Mr. DeCardi. So we have a motion and a second. I failed to ask Commissioner Kennedy whether she would like the applicant to address the air conditioning noise with a, I would expect a proposal through staff to either adjust the placement or use that notch to create a partial enclosure enough to cut the sound down, as suggested by the neighbor's letter. And I'll admit you've heard that kind of comment from me from time to time.
I'm not going to condition my my motion on that, nor am I going to condition it on the planting of an additional tree. What I would like to see, and then this is, is for staff, is for the applicant to work with staff to contemplate somehow abating the noise from the unit that does not overburden the project. I think that's neighborly.
All right, good approach. And then there was also the comment in the letter, and I think various commissioners have raised this issue multiple times, the 8-foot tall stair window. The thing about stair windows is that you start way up high and then you walk down toward the window. And so there is a notable view. The neighbor at 205 had suggested alternatives of either obscure glass or simply keeping the camellia bush if possible. Would that be a work through staff option?
Yeah, so I think that again is something I do not want to condition the project on that either. I think that is something again in deference to both the applicant and the neighbor's privacy, working together for a solution. And it does seem like the applicant has made, has been open to conversations with the neighbors. So, and also giving the homeowners longstanding relationship in the community, being the longest existing resident on the street. I think that they are committed to keeping the community intact and including the neighborliness of the space. So I have the utmost faith in the process and in the applicants and the neighbors to work towards a solution. But again, I am not willing to encumber the process with conditions.
All right, fair enough. And Mr. Kelly, is that agreeable?
Yes, I have a question through the chair for staff.
Please.
Yes. The question is, if an applicant comes to a meeting with a change such as making the windows obscure or adding some kind of frosted glazing, is that considered a condition of approval, or how does that work if it's not particularly noted into the minutes at all?
I would defer this question to the liaison, Ms. Sandmeyer.
Yes, it does make it does make it a little more difficult for staff if we're not completely sure what, if it's not a condition, but the applicant comes in with building permit plans that show frosted glass, for a portion of that window, and that was discussed at the meeting, I think that's fine. And it sounds like there's no real requirement for them to change anything if they don't want to. And so if there's no conditions and they just submit a building permit that's shows the same plans that they've submitted now, then we would be fine with that. So I don't know if that fully answers the question or.
Yes, that answers the question. Thank you. So I guess I'm less in support of the motion if there's no follow-up to what the applicant has proposed. And I'm concerned about, I appreciate Commissioner Kennedy's trying to not burden the approval, but it's leaving it up to the applicant in order to just work in good faith, which may or may not help. So the question from the chair is, can I support the revised motion? And what exactly is the revised motion?
Well, the motion hasn't actually been revised yet, other than to make a public expression, but not a condition, to the applicant to please work with the air conditioning units, sound control in some way, and to address, in some way, treat the glass for the stair window, or keep the camellia successful.
So as the maker, I think the challenge is that these are all, these are all things that are not required, and to condition this project that is a very good project, that the applicants have worked with the community, they've done, they've created a really lovely design. To condition it on all of these particular things, I would remove my motion, and somebody else can take on the motion. But as I said, the motion that I've made stands, and I can, if somebody else wants to make a motion, I can step it back. I'm happy to do that, but I'm not going to condition this project on any of the three items that have been discussed: the window, the trees, or the air conditioning.
All right, understood. I'd like to make a suggestion that in order to facilitate Ms. Kennedy's motion and assist with Mr. Kale's second, that I ask the applicant, the Rouses, in fact, I think I saw a momentary video there, if they would like to respond to this suggestion from Commissioner Kennedy. Yes, Mrs. Rouse, I just need your audio on. I need your microphone clicked on. Oh, I wonder, is that a staff issue to get the microphone clicked on for Ms. Rouse? Leo?
No, it appears that she's self-muted. Ms. Rouse, if you can just click on your microphone icon next to your name. Well, if you,
there
you are.
Okay. We saw the very late email, and I agree we're going to put the frosted window, half of it, so the neighbor would not see the neighbor, and for her privacy, we comply to that. For the tree, we plant another tree. I agree with you. I love trees. We are on a very big property at Stanford, and we love trees, like a garden. So we will comply to put another tree on the property. And the air conditioner, you know what, with the technology now, we will choose the quiet one. So I think we agree with your comments, and we have no we will comply to it and we have no issue.
All right, thank you very much. And so to Mr. Kale, does that sound like we're moving in the right direction?
It does. I appreciate Commissioner Kennedy's approach. I don't think it's too burdensome to ask that a condition be made to frost the window as the applicant has already agreed to. And I would say, at least the bottom half.
Great. Do that. So I'm happy to accept the condition that the motion is put forward with the condition that at least with the bottom 50% of the window in the stairwell, that it is glazed in some way, that it is not clear glass.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the air conditioner, that's a tough one because it's meeting the minimum standards of the city. I don't see requiring them to do more than that, although it would really behoove the owners to try to work with their neighbors. So I would not want to ask to change the motion to add anything for the air conditioning. So I'll second the motion as it's.
We love food, we always get along with them, and we love the neighborhood, and I love that house. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, commissioners, for working that out. So the motion has been amended to include a request to make the lower portion of the stair window glazing obscure. And I'm using that word so that frosting is not the only option.
Yes.
And so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Commissioner Kennedy, if you would step off your video for a second, and then I'll ask for all those who support the motion from Ms. Kennedy and supported by Mr. Kale to hit their camera icon. And so I have okay, Michelle. All right, so far I have Commissioners Doran, Kale, DeCarty, and Tate, and myself. Is that right? All right, so voting in favor, we have Doran, Kale, DeCarty, Tate, Riggs, and Kennedy. And that would be unanimous tonight. So congratulations. I agree that this is a charming looking house, and I hope it's not June or July before you get to move forward with this. And with that, I would like to, if we still have Chair Barnes present, I will turn him over for the informational items and the formal gavel. Mr. Barnes, do we still have you? There you are. Audio, as we like to say. I don't think we have your audio yet, Mr. Chair.
This is Leo speaking. It looks like his audio is on from our end. I'm not sure why it's not going through.
Sorry, people. That was me.
There we go.
I said I missed you guys over the last 20 minutes. Okay, so I apologize. I'm looking for my agenda. Well, that's it. Actually, that's the last item on the agenda this evening. So we'll do we'll look to staff for informational items. And at this time, Commissioner Doran, when you first got on, you were indicating you had a comment about reports and announcements. So let's let Ms. Sandmeyer go ahead with what she has in reports and announcements. And if you want to give whatever reason you want to say at that time, please do so. Ms. Sandmeyer, reports and announcements.
Yes, so the next meeting will be April 20th. We haven't finalized the agenda since things are a little bit in flux, but we're looking at one multifamily development that would be getting, we'll be doing renovations, and then one single family home use permit, and then we may have another project, kind of depending how things turn out. That's it for my reports and announcements, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Doran.
Yeah, we got a email a few days ago saying that the planning department was open again, that you guys are working on applications, I guess remotely, but that no new building permits, or new applications for building permits were being accepted. I'm just wondering if you've got any insight into how long that's going to continue. I know that this has been disruptive to everyone, but I'm hoping that you can start accepting new building permits, so whenever, you know, everyone's open for business again and construction can resume, that, you know, people are not out of work longer than they need to be.
Yeah, I can certainly pass that on to our planning management. For now, I think that the thought is just to continue with what we've already accepted, but it all depends how long the shelter-in-place order stays in place. So things are changing rapidly, but I will definitely keep you updated.
We had two study sessions on the one we did at our last PC. Are you thinking that study sessions are challenging in this type of format and you'll therefore not bring them back, or is it just something that you're going to push off because of the different building environment that we have now?
We may be bringing at least one of those forward. I think there were some, you know, we wanted to test out a little bit more how it works with people commenting, because generally there's more public comment on study sessions. But it seemed like the public comments went fairly smoothly today. So we're definitely looking forward to bringing more projects to the Planning Commission. But as I said, we haven't finalized the agenda yet.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on reports and announcements? Mr. Riggs.
Yes, I have a request. Well, first I'd like to make the comment that it was nice to see that the public comment process worked tonight, and I can imagine that was a bit of a challenge. I do see we still have some technical challenges within the staff and commission participations, and I wondered if that is something that could be there could be some beta testing between now and our next meeting in order to try to clear up some of the snags and maybe identify any likely issues that are on the user end. For example, if I forget to hit my microphone button. And I wondered if we could have that done in the coming days and be ready to run in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think something like that would be beneficial. I'll discuss it with my colleagues in the planning management. But definitely we want to iron out and make things as smooth as possible. So I think since at least I'm fairly new to this, I think that would be helpful to do something like that.
Mr. DeCardi.
Yeah, I just want to second the thanks to staff. You've worked so hard last time and this time to adjust on this. I appreciate Commissioner Riggs's comments and all of us working harder to make this go as smoothly as possible. But the effort to really thank you all for that above and beyond. I would want to note that as we think about access for public comment, given that we are remote, that raises an equity question. You have to have internet hookup. Your internet hookup has to be reliable. There are all sorts of barriers potentially for a member of the public in our community to participate in this type of environment relative to somebody like myself. And so as we continue to go forward here, I'd also love it if you all could discuss ways of perhaps increasing outreach for written comment or in some other way to try to balance the equitable participation questions, which will invariably arise given people's different capacity to connect electronically. But overall, just to thank you again so much for the effort on making this happen.
Thank you.
So seeing no other commissioner comments, I will gavel this meeting, this April 6th meeting of the Menlo Park Planning Commission, adjourned at 9:25 p.m. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job. Thank you, Commissioners Riggs and Barnes. Well done.
Good night, everybody.